Welcome to episode 10 of the Shredding for Gold podcast. I'm your host, Ep010, and I'm happy to have you here and listening. Thank you so much for being here. We are on to episode 10 of the Shredding for Gold podcast, and super happy to continuing to be able to do this podcast and bringing you all sorts of exciting information and interviewing lots of different people that are a part of my adventure, and soon I'll be interviewing people who are also working towards similar goals, and I'm excited to share their adventures with all of you, the listeners. So I'm super to have you here. For those who do not know me, my name is Ep010. I am a blind snowboarder who is working towards the Paralympics, and if you are listening to this episode and have not heard of this podcast before, welcome aboard. Feel free to continue listening to this episode and then checking out previous episodes of the podcast so you can catch up as well. You can check them out a few different ways by either visiting the website www.wyexcuse.com/shreddingforgold, and there you can find the podcast and all the episodes that we have recorded thus far. So you can feel free to listen to them there, or you can ask your trusty assistant, either Google or Alexa, or whoever your assistant is, to play the Shredding for Gold podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Feel free to check it out there. And after you have checked it out, please leave us a review and rating, because we love to know how we're doing and how we can get better and how you guys are liking the podcast. And that way we can bring you more content that you are interested in. And yeah, it honestly, the reviews and the ratings really help us. It just gives us an idea of how people are enjoying our podcast and if we need to do things differently, or if we just need to keep doing what we're doing. So I really appreciate you taking just a few minutes of your time after you listen to the podcast, and just especially if you're new, and even if you've been listening from the very beginning, I would really appreciate you leaving either a rating or a review, or even better if you can leave both. It honestly just really helps us. So we're on to episode 10 of the Shredding for Gold podcast, and as you can probably tell by the intro music, we're getting close to not only the holidays but also winter season, which for me is super duper exciting, because winter is my season. It's when I do a lot of my racing, well, all of my racing, because I am a blind snowboarder athlete who's working towards the Paralympics. But I also get to go do lots of training at super fun places. And originally it was places all across Ontario that I would get to do racing and training in. And now that I'm on the West Coast in BC, it's going to be places in British Columbia that I get to train on. So super excited. It's coming up so quickly, and preparations are underway. I am very excited to get back on snow and to finally get back to racing, because I haven't been able to race. Well, no one's been able to race since the whole pandemic hit in 2020. So I am beyond excited to get back to racing, and just getting back to more of a normal winter training schedule as well, and just gaining more comfort on the bigger mountains out here on the west coast of BC, because that's how I'm going to continue working towards my ultimate goal of getting to the Paralympics, is just gaining more experience and riding on different terrain and bigger mountains that are steeper and more like they're just more different terrain and everything like that. So that's the only way to grow, right? Is continually like working and getting past that whole comfort zone. That's the only way to grow, right? But yeah, I am super excited to get back on snow as well. The holidays are coming, so that's always super exciting. Yeah, so for this episode, we don't have anyone that I'm going to be interviewing in this episode, but I am in the process of getting more interviews set up for future episodes, so look forward to that. But this episode is going to be kind of like a mixed bag episode. There's a few things that I wanted to chat about, and then just a few things I wanted to let you guys know about. So yeah, that's kind of how this episode is going to roll. So hopefully you enjoy it, and we have exciting things ahead for this podcast that are in the works, and so I can't wait to share it with all of you guys. So yeah, first things first, holidays are coming. So I'm actually going to be heading back to Ontario for the holiday season. I'm excited to see family and friends that I haven't seen in for quite some time. Definitely over a year since I've seen some of them, and in some cases I haven't seen them for almost 2 years, so that'll be fun. So with that, I just wanted to let you know the podcast, I am working on interviewing more people, so but just as a bit of a heads up, if you by chance don't see a new episode 1 week, never fear. We are still alive and well and still definitely recording, but with the holiday season, it is going to get busy, so you might not see an episode every week, but we'll definitely get an episode out. We'll try to do an episode like every other week. And then coming up to the winter season, it's likely going to be every other week as well. I am planning on and working towards getting some pre-recorded episodes recorded. So that's kind of like my goal for the next few weeks is to get a few episodes pre-recorded so that we have some episodes that can be put up without me having to do as much of work in the wintertime, so not as much recording in the wintertime. But that doesn't mean that I won't be recording. It just means I won't be recording weekly like I'm doing right now. So, but we're going to do our best to do an episode every other week. That is the plan for going forward for the holiday season and for the winter season, because both of those times super, super busy for me, but I do want to keep this podcast alive. So that is kind of my plan, and I'm putting it out to all of you so I can be accountable. So it'll work. It's definitely going to work. So I wanted to let you all know that, so that you guys just know, so that you guys have a heads up, because I like to keep my listeners informed and everyone else informed. So yeah, but either way, I'm very excited for the upcoming holidays. When I'm back in Ontario, we're actually planning on doing an on-hill team starfish reunion. So I plan on getting some recording footage from that event, because that's going to be lots of fun. Looking forward to seeing a good chunk of the hill team and being back on snow with them, playing in the powder at our home hill at Bowler Mountain. I'm super duper hoping that they will be open and we'll be able to have some fun in the snow. weather gods come in, cooperate with us and with the bowler team so they can get it open, because it would be super fun to be doing some shredding with the old team back in Ontario. And yeah, we'll definitely get some footage, audio footage from that. And it'll be put on the podcast as part of one of the episodes. And also, I'm planning to meet up with the Ontario gym coaches as well. So I'm planning on doing some audio footage from that as well. So you've already met both Steve and Paul on the previous podcast episode. I believe it was episode 1 and episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was episode 3. I think definitely episode 1 for meeting Steve, and and then episode 3, believe. 1 second, I'm just gonna double check. Definitely episode 1 for meeting Steve. Actually, episode 1 for meeting Steve McRae, and then episode 4 for meeting Paul Tavares. So, so I'm definitely super excited to be meeting up with them again. So, and as I said before, I plan on getting some audio recording from that, because that's always fun. We're planning on doing a bit of an FRC stretch review with Coach Steve, because it's always good to review that, and I kind of want to get a bit of feedback from him, and I just have a few questions about it. And I'm also planning on getting some FST done by Coach Paul, so that'll be really neat for you guys to sort of experience. I'm just thinking about how how we'll work that audio, but I will figure it out, because I think that would be kind of neat for you guys to hear. Maybe I'll get him to explain what he's doing. So, and then just a little bit more about FSC, because Coach Paul has done it with me in Ontario, and now Coach Gotti here in BC has taken over my FST. So, but Coach Paul back in Ontario has agreed to do some FST for me while I'm back in Ontario, just to make sure my muscles are properly recovered from jet lag and flying, because athlete muscles do not like flying, and sometimes they get really cranky and tight after flying. So, but the FST definitely really helps, and just the extra stretching that I'll be doing, it definitely really helps. So, but I thought it would be super cool to get both some of the audio recording from the FRC stretch review and from the FST stretch treatment sessions, and then get it on the podcast as well. So yeah, that'll be fun. So yeah, there's the holidays, and then yeah, so that's gonna be super fun. I'm also planning on interviewing some of the family that has been very super supportive of my goal of getting to the Paralympics. So you'll get to meet them and hear from them. And then you'll also hear about something that's, I think, is super cool, that has been really developing. Something that my family has taken on, especially my mom and my oldest sister. They've taken on, and as well as my stepdad, Jim, has taken this task as well, to help with getting some more funding to help me with my upcoming race and training costs. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, because I kind of want them to talk more about that. So it's but it's really cool how it's been developing. It's really neat. And they kind of came up with it on their own, and it's really taking off now, and I'm super excited and super grateful that they're doing this for me to help me out. So every little bit helps, right? So you'll get to learn more about that, and you'll be able to learn more about it, but also get a sneak peek of what's coming up for that as well, and how you can support that, and so more information about that. I'm trying to be a bit vague about that right now. I'm sorry if it doesn't quite make sense, but bear with me. Future episodes coming soon about that, and so more details about that. But it's either way, it's super exciting. So yeah, you'll hear from the family, because I would love to interview them. I haven't decided if I'm going to interview them separately, if I'll do them as a joint interview, but that'll come. You'll see. I have some ideas already in my head, but we'll see how it transpires and how it works out. So I'll be back in Ontario for a few weeks, and then I'll be back out here after the holidays, and we'll be jumping right into winter race and training season. So that's super duper exciting. I already have my training schedule, so that's super awesome. Waiting to hear about the race schedule, but that should be coming out soon. But yeah, definitely excited to get back into racing. Definitely a little bit of nerves because it's brand new mountains for me, but at the same time, I am super excited to get back into racing because it's almost been 2 years since I've gone to a race, so I am super excited. Also super excited to meet my new coaches and guides, who I should be meeting soon, and I am planning on bringing them onto the podcast to let you guys meet the hill coaches as well. Once I get to know them a little bit more, and once we establish a bit more. But yeah, definitely look forward to that episode as well, where you'll get to meet the hill coaches and guides and hear from them as well. That should be awesome too. Yeah, so very busy times coming up for me, but it's very exciting. Very excited to make my return to the mountains. I can't say hills because these are mountains. And definitely very excited to get back into racing as well. Yeah. And then, yeah, so we've talked about the holidays, we've talked about how winter race and training season is coming up, and now I kind of want to go into athlete recovery. I want to chat about that. I want to chat about athlete recovery now, because that's a big piece for an athlete. But so yeah, I kind of want to touch on that, and that's also I want to touch on that for a few reasons, because we are planning on getting my RMT on the podcast, and so I figure if that's coming up, so I figured that's a good time to sort of introduce a bit more of what that entails for recovery for an athlete such as myself. So I figured that would be a good segue into that, because that's going to be coming up soon, once we finish that recording. But yeah, I also wanted to talk about that because I will be starting to bring on the BC coaches here, and one of my gym coaches is actually does and helps with my recovery as well for an athlete, as he is doing my FST treatments now. So I figured this would be a great segue into those, because they'll be coming up soon on the podcast. So I just want to touch on that. And so athlete recovery, it's a huge thing. All of us have to, as athletes, we go through that all the time. We have to do recovery. Training is intense, so recovery is incredibly important for an athlete. And not only is it because training is intense, but also recovery can be recovering from or rehabbing any injuries that us athletes may get, because it's bound to happen no matter how hard we try to stay safe while training hard. Injuries are going to happen, and that happens to all of us athletes. I've had a few injuries myself. I'm actually rehabbing a bit of an injury right now that I got a few weeks ago. So injuries, as annoying as they are, it's part of being an athlete. You're gonna get injured, and that's okay, but it's important to have strategies and procedures in place that will help you with recovering from either an injury or just a really tough week of training. So it's super duper important, and super important for the athlete to have recovery tools and procedures in place to help you as an athlete, because you don't have those recovery tools and strategies in place, it's going to be a lot harder for you to train and to continue your training. So super, super important. So for me as an athlete, I have a registered massage therapist, an RMT. That's what I'm going to be referring to from here on forth. So registered massage therapist. If you hear me say RMT, that's what I mean. So I have a registered massage therapist on my team. I've had one for the last few years. I had one in Ontario, and honestly, they are amazing to have on your team. They get to know your body and how your muscles work, and they just get to know you, so that if an injury does occur, or if they can tell that something's getting tight, they can work on loosening those muscles, or give you different exercises or strategies to help you take care of those tighter muscles that are a bit more prone to getting injured. So they are a god. They are amazing. And I'm so happy to have an RMT as part of my support team that helps with recovery. So I've had my current RMT, Dylan, since the end of June. So he's getting to know my muscles now. And so when I had the injury to my wrist a few weeks ago, he has definitely been helping a lot to help get this wrist back up to where it should be. Without the RMT, it would be a lot harder for it. The recovery would be a lot harder and still doable, but it would be so much harder. And I'm so grateful to have an RMT a part of my team. And so many athletes, regardless of the sport that you're doing, they often have RMTs a part of their team. It just helps speed up recovery so much more. So I have an RMT on my support team. I also have a coach that knows FST, and so that's fascial stretch therapy. And if you listen back to the episode where I was interviewing Paul Tavares, you'll know a little bit about what FST is. So if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely after you're done listening to this episode, go back to episode 4, when I interview Paul Tavares, and you'll learn a little bit more about what FST is. But that has been super amazing, and the short answer that I'll give you right now is that it's essentially manual therapy. So the therapist brings your muscles and helps just like stretch out the fascia in all of your muscles by different like movements. They can like move around your like limbs and the muscles, and it just helps lubricate all of the fascia and just gets things moving better. So that's a very short and concrete answer, but definitely if you want to learn more about what FST is, definitely check out episode 4, where Paul Tavares, who is my coach back in Ontario, he's done quite a bit of FST on me, and I'll also be bringing on Coach Scotty soon, who is here in BC, who's now doing my FST here in BC, and I'm sure he'll talk more about that as well. So yeah, I do have an RMT. I have a coach who knows FST. Now, for FST, not all athletes do FST treatment. Honestly, it varies for each athlete, their treatment plan. But for me, I really enjoy having both RMT and FST a part of my treatment and recovery plan. I feel like they complement each other, and they actually work together nicely. And it just I guess you could say it kind of gives me a little bit more of a recovery edge. I feel like my muscles respond well to both the RMT and the FST. So, I really enjoy having both of those part of my recovery plan. And so I've talked about RMT, I've talked about FST, and I want to talk about some of the things that I do here at home. So obviously we do lots of training at the gym, at the mountain, and on the ocean. So at home, I obviously have to do stuff. So at home, I have a bunch of different resources that I use for helping my muscles recover. So some of the things that I use are foam rollers and lacrosse balls to help do some soft fascia muscle massage release on any tight muscles that I have. So I use that a lot, and I will link a website that sort of talks a little bit more about soft tissue muscle massage. But the short, I would say if you want to Google it, I would say look up trigger point massage. You'll find a lot of information on that. And it's mainly targeting muscles that are tight and working through that tightness to help loosen those muscles. It's just getting muscles lubricated and moving a little bit better. So I use lacrosse balls, tennis balls, foam rollers for that. So I use that for trigger point massage at home. I also have a vast resource of various stretches that I can do for all of my muscles that I have learned over the past several years, both in Ontario and in BC, that I can use. So I kind of play around with, I don't do the same stretches every week. And sometimes I will do the same stretches every day, every week. But doing the same stretches every week, 24/7 is not, it's not advisable because your muscles will start to like, your muscles will start, your muscles will, they'll start not responding as well because you're doing the same stretching day after day after day. So I like to switch it up. There's a few that I sort of do, that I tend to do a lot more than others, but I also know that I need to switch things up. And it also depends how muscles are feeling as well. If I know that certain muscles are a little bit more tighter or need a little bit more TLC, then I'll be sure to include stretching that can help give those muscles the extra TLC that they require during that week or during that period of time. So yeah, I have a vast, large list of stretches that I have learned, that I pull out different ones depending on how things are feeling and what we're doing and just what my muscles need. Again, I've learned from both coaches back in Ontario and then also coaches here in BC as well. So, and I've got a lot of them written down, or I also pull them from like my head as well. So, as you can probably imagine, I have a really good memory. So, and then we're also like fine tuning the stretches. So like, we'll do like stretch reviews at the gym, or during yoga, we'll do like stretch reviews to see like how things are going and if we need to tweak things or I need like clarification on like different stretches. We'll do reviews to make sure that things are running smoothly. So yeah, we have RMT, we have FST, we have at-home resources, as well as my at-home resources with like my lacrosse ball, tennis ball, foam roller. I also have a scraping massage tool now that I can use for helping muscles recover, just like bringing blood flow to different muscles to help them recover after intense training sessions. So just started using that a little while ago. Still learning how to use that and like how to use that and making sure that I'm using it properly, but it's coming along nicely, and I already started noticing some neat improvements, how like muscles are recovering, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, lots of different stretching, and as well I have things that I can do like contrast therapy, and so that's like using hot and cold water for different periods of time to help relax muscles and help them recover. So right now, because I have the wrist injury, I've been doing lots of contrast therapy around my wrist and my forearm, and that helps soothe. That really helps soothe the muscles and just like helps them calm down. I find that to be very helpful. So I've been doing a lot of that right now. So yeah, lots of different like resources that I can use for helping with recovery. And as you probably are aware, if you are an athlete or if you're not aware, there's no one way to recover as an athlete. It's sort of like trial and error, see what works, keep the things that work. If something isn't working for recovery, then definitely explore different options for recovery. But yeah, there's no one way or set way for athletes to recover. They have like there's things out there that say how, like different strategies for athletes to recover, but every athlete's body is going to be different, right? So what might work for one athlete may not necessarily work for another athlete. So training, for me, there's been lots of trial and error for recovery. So and honestly, it's an ongoing work in progress, and it's continually working through that, seeing what works and what isn't working. So, but yeah, and so that's what's gonna work for myself as an athlete to recover may not necessarily work for another athlete to recover. They might have a different idea. So, but either way, athlete recovery is incredibly important. And another thing to add for athlete recovery, I know I listed all the at-home resources, but just like getting out for like walks and like just getting out and moving around, it honestly really helps for recovery as well. Just getting things moving around and getting out and walking, and it's also really good. Darling loves getting out and walking and stuff and playing and everything, and that honestly, every little bit helps for recovery. So, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on for athlete recovery. So, I think that's it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I plan on adding some links to give you some more information, because I know I did a lot of talking about different things, and you might be interested in learning more about these. You might be interested in learning about what I've talked about more. So I did some brief descriptions, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, trepanier@yahoo.ca, or leave a comment or on the podcast, and we'll be sure to reach out. I just want a big shout out to my podcast producer, Maxwell Ivy Jr., who is the blind blogger on the internet, for being an amazing podcast producer. You are doing an amazing job and conquering through technical issues like a champ. So thank you so much. Fingers crossed your new laptop arrives soon, because I know that's going to make things on your end a lot easier. So keeping my fingers crossed, but keep doing what you're doing, Maxwell. You are doing amazing. And also, just another big shout out to those great people at Blueberry for helping with keeping our podcast online and any sort of technical issues that might arise with the podcast. You guys are doing awesome as well from the sounds of things. And yeah, so big shout out to both of you guys. And just wanted to mention some exciting news. The Team Starfish website, www.teamstarfish.ca, is now online and live, and we are doing a total revamp of the website. So for those of you who know that we had a website before, same website, you're gonna notice big changes on the website. And we're continuing to work on the website. So, but the website is up and live now for you guys to check out. And just know that we are in the midst of doing a huge update on the website. So check back often to that website, because we're adding lots of super fun, cool things to the website. So be sure to check it out, and I'll link it. We'll be sure to link it to the podcast, www.teamstarfish.ca. And also be sure, again, to check out the podcast website, and that can be reached at www.wyexcuse.com/shreddingforgold. And if you are listening and wanting to make your own podcast, please reach out to the WY Excuse Network. .com, and we'll be happy to help you create your podcast. Especially, we're looking for people who would like to create a podcast who have some sort of disability or related to disability. We're looking to grow the WY Excuse Network, so because that's what the WI Excuse Network is. It's a network to help showcase podcasters like like me. And so we're definitely looking for new podcast shows to add to the WYX Youth Network. So check out the wyxyouthnetwork.com, and if you're interested in making a podcast, definitely reach out. Alright guys, that's it for me for this episode of Shredding for Gold. We will see you next time on the Shredding for Gold podcast. This has been Emily, and this has been episode 10. Later!